Welcome back to Mobility Matters, the podcast that's a bi-weekly live stream covering transportation topics of interest presented by the CITT. That's the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, the organization overseeing the half-penny sales surtax in Miami-Dade County. Thank you for joining us as we stream directly from the studios of Community News Network onto the social media platforms of Miami's community newspapers. I'm Cheryl Mizell, CITT Ambassador Program Coordinator, and today for your regular host, Javier Betancourt, CITT Executive Director, and keeping you informed about the volunteer CITT ambassadors who ride transit similar to secret shoppers and use the CITT Ambassador Mobility Rewards app to give feedback about their experiences in exchange for rewards, all to help us improve transit services here in Miami-Dade County. By the way, if you're a frequent transit rider, then stay close because later in the show, we'll talk a little bit about how you can start earning rewards such as transit passes and credits for Uber or Lyft. Right? Does that sound good? Okay. Well, but right now, what I want to do is briefly introduce you to our special guest for today's Mobility Matters. They'll have an opportunity in just a few short minutes to share a little bit more about themselves with you. But for now, meet our CITT ambassadors of the first and second quarters of 2025, Theo Karantsalis and Catheline Ahmed-Vargas. Now, Theo is a dedicated disability rights advocate, former college professor, and retired librarian. I mean, that's quite a lot in a lifetime already, right? He currently serves as the vice chair of the Miami-Dade County Commission on Disability Issues. And Catheline currently serves as the academic math lab manager at Miami-Dade College, where she leads with creativity and compassion, helping students connect with math in ways that are hands-on, engaging, and truly empowering. Where were you when I was growing up, Kathleen? Theo and Catheline, congratulations on becoming ambassadors of the first and second quarters for 2025, and welcome to Mobility Matters.
Good morning, Cheryl. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the podcast today.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. I'm so glad that you both are here and you made it here this morning to have this chat with our viewers and listeners. But before we get started with our conversation, would you give me a moment to reach out to our viewing and listening community? Yeah? All right. Okay. Well, if you would like to learn more about the CITT, or how you can apply to become a CITT Trust member or CITT Ambassador, just visit miamidade.gov/CITT. You'll see it repeat on the crawler at the bottom of your screen during the show. In fact, it's on there now, so you can write it down and grab it while it's there. And as I mentioned earlier, if you or someone you know is a frequent transit rider who likes to give feedback about their experience riding transit and receive rewards, well, then just take a picture of the QR code when it appears on the screen, and it will take you directly to our homepage, just like that. Then you'll find links to apply to become a CITT ambassador or a CITT Trust member. Now, let's get started with our conversation, Theo and Catheline. So, thank you, so much for all the extra time and energy that you've contributed through the ambassador program, because completing surveys on the app is really all that's required. But you've gone the extra miles by, being a part of interviews and for social media and the news media, participating in presentations, quarterly check-ins, focus groups, and the anniversary celebration. So you have been there, have been devoted, and we really appreciate both of you. And a special thank you for coming on in here today. So thank you. So with that, Theo, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
May I read a
Sure,
short passage?
Absolutely. This is your time.
In this book, the author summed it up, I guess, for me.
Okay.
He wrote, Theo is the good stuff. He is 64, a San Francisco native who now lives in Florida and has lived with a serious mental illness since he was a child. He has at various times in his life been a high-functioning schizophrenic, able to successfully function as a husband, a father, and an employee, but at other times not so much. He shows how kaleidoscopic, how uniquely brilliant and terrifying the world can feel to someone with his condition. Nice to meet you.
Wow, that's really nice, and I can say that I have witnessed much of that. I've seen you with your son, and the care that you deploy there, and I've heard you talking to your wife, and you're always talking about your wife and how supportive she is, and you just amaze me, Theo. All that you do, that how you get around and transportation. You are everywhere. Going to meetings and participating. In conversations, advocating. So you're just amazing. How do you do it all?
I just it gives me a chance to be part of your world, and I do it with thanks to people like you, Cheryl. You've been very, very patient with me and very, very compassionate. What people outside may never realize are the early morning text messages and the phone calls late at night, the behind the scenes stuff, and it's all because of you, and I thank you.
Well, thank you. You're gonna get me all choked up here. But we have the Mutual Admiration Society going on here because I think you deserve as much support as you can get, because I think you have good intentions and you just do great work out there. Reporting on what you see, taking the time to document. I mean, not only do you ride the train, you ride the bus, you ride the trolley. It's like, what don't you ride? What routes haven't you been on? Are there any left that you haven't traveled? No, probably not. But I know if we need you to go on one, you will be there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Kathleen, tell us a little bit about you and the work that you do.
All right. Well, good morning, and thank you again, Cheryl, for having me here today. Again, my name is Catheline. Most of my students at Miami-Dade College knows me as Kathy, so you can all call me Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
I am a New York native. I was born in the Bronx, New York. I moved to Miami in 2003. Been here ever since. I am also a mother of 4, and I'll tell you why that's important when I tell my stories about CITT later.
Okay.
I'm also a former Miami-Dade County public school teacher. Used to teach middle school and high school. And now I'm here with the CITT program.
Absolutely. I think you missed that part about doing something for NASA. That's pretty huge.
One of my biggest achievements. So when I was in college, I always wanted to be an astronaut. That was my thing. But back in back at late ages ago, that was like kind of far idea for a woman to do.
Sure.
For a female.
For anyone.
So it was kind of discouraging for me at that time. So I pursued computer science, which it was like the best next thing for me. I had a passion for computers. And when I was in college, my senior year, I saw a flyer with the NASA logo on it, and I knew NASA. And I said, let me apply. And I applied for internship. I got selected out of 3,000 students. And then they flew me to, Kennedy Space Center and spent the summer there. And after my internship was completed, they invited me to work for them. So I worked for the space shuttle programs with the weather towers for the space shuttle program. So that was pretty neat. pretty neat experience.
Wow. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. I couldn't even believe it myself when I was there. It took a while for me, like, kind of sink in. You working for NASA, and that's a story that I tell my students. Even when I used to be a former student, if I could do it, anybody could do it. So it's kind of an inspirational story for me. So I use that with my students as well now, especially my students who are struggling in math.
Sure.
I tell them and I say, you can do it. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do it.
Did you get to meet any astronauts?
I did. I did. Mr. Chang Diaz, he's a Spain native, very, very humble. My admiration for him is like amazing. He's an astronaut, I know. And you see him, it's like you're talking to somebody else, like who's not even an astronaut. So it was pretty awesome. And as a matter of fact, a story that I didn't tell you, Cheryl, was 3 years ago in 2022, when I was still working as a teacher, high school teacher, I was nominated to do a zero gravity flight. So I got to experience zero gravity as well.
Wow.
So that was pretty awesome. Yes.
That's something I'd like to do.
Yeah.
As a child, I haven't had a dream in a long time, but I used to dream I could fly. It was such an amazing feeling. I'd never forget it because it was a recurring dream. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of similar, being able to float like that.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
We did it for about an hour, 15 minutes. Every 15-minute interval. It was pretty awesome. Out of this world experience, like literally out of the world experience.
Wow, that is really special.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so let's talk a little bit about how you all, came to be so comfortable taking public transit. I know, growing up in Miami for myself, that I basically used to drive a car all the time, So it's only, recently, well, not recently for me, but, recently that we've started to see things start to change a little bit here in Miami. But, how do you all, what were the experiences that you had that broke the barriers, or maybe you've grown up with, taking public transit, especially being a New Yorker?
Right. So I can go ahead and take this one first. So yes, so being in New York City, you're not forced to, but it's just part of your daily routine to take the train,
mm-hmm.
The subway to and from work, to and from school. So when I moved to Miami, I didn't have a driver's license. I came in my late 20s, didn't have my driver's license. And then I said, well, I have to learn how to drive. But then in the meanwhile, when I was learning how to drive, I started taking public transportation, started exploring. And it became easy for me just because I already did that in New York City.
Yes.
So that wasn't a problem for me. I don't know if that was the case, same thing for you.
What about you, Theo?
The DMV revoked my license, and I got a letter in the mail saying that it was under revocation after I had a heart attack last year,
mm-hmm.
and now my heart sometimes beats,
Sure.
not the way it's supposed to,
Sure.
and so that I think one of my doctors must have sent them a note, I have the MS, which affects my mobility, the multiple sclerosis, and then I'm vision impaired. I have double vision, so it was these factors, and maybe the psychological issues probably factored in, because I experience things a lot of other people don't.
Sure.
Sensorial.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, that's how
you got into it.
And
you were driving before, so you were driving up until a year or so ago. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's probably safer that I take the bus and the train.
Yes.
And that unless, well, it's an issue sometimes when it's really hot, and maybe the bus doesn't come on time. But I bought an ice vest. And so
where do you get one of those? I like it.
I got it on Amazon, so it'll keep me cool for a couple hours in case I have to wait outside.
Wow.
For a long time. Because not every place has a shelter.
Yes. Wow. That's the tools in your kit.
Mm.
So, wow. So then you've made this transition to taking transportation everywhere just in this past year? I mean, because you seem so, so expert at it. I thought you were doing this for years. I had no idea you just transitioned to this type of lifestyle, in such recent amount of, just recently, relatively speaking.
When I worked in Liberty City, I enjoyed taking the 6-2 like as an adjunct. I just wanted to be I wanted to be there, and so I would take the 6-2, the 7-7. I'd hop on the train, and I enjoyed mixing it up, especially with my students at that time.
Okay.
So that's why I did it back then mainly more because I wanted to, as opposed to now. I guess it's because I have to.
Yes. And tell me a little bit about your path to becoming a CITT ambassador. How did you find out about the program?
So,
Kathleen?
Yes. So you remember when I told you that I used to be a high school teacher?
Yes.
So I worked at IPrep Academy, which is in Biscayne. So I had to take, the metro down to Government Center. So then one day coming from work, and I always wanted to be an advocate. I'm a very advocate for transit, like for public transportation. And then I saw the sign in the metro rail, and they said for you to scan a QR code, and I did, and that's how I got into that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. And you, Theo?
I'm sorry. What
How did you find out about the program, the ambassador program?
I'm trying to think. I think it might have been on the. I saw something on the train, a display.
Okay.
And I think you and I in the past we spoke about the slogan at the MLK train station outside. That says everybody can serve, right? The Martin Luther King quote.
Yes, we did.
That kind of gave me a little extra push.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about your day-to-day experiences, using public transit and recording information in the app. What's your commute or your regular use of public transit like, Kathleen?
Oh, actually, you know what? That's one of my favorite parts of the day,
Oh.
to be honest, because I lived in the Miami Lakes community, by the Country Club of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I have to commute all the way downtown because I work at the Wolfson campus in Miami-Dade College. So it's a long commute. So driving there in the morning, it would be no problem. On the way back, with the traffic. And I didn't want to be, I was already coming out of work. I didn't want to have that extra stress. So what I did was I started taking the 95 Express. A friend of mine told me, listen, there's an express bus that'll take you all the way downtown. And that's my kind of, I let go. I either read a book or I, listen to music, or I just it's my downtime in the morning, and the same thing for the afternoon. And it picks me up right in the doorsteps of my, my place, and then at work. So it's easy for me. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. Yes.
When I lived in D.C., I used to enjoy transit like that because it had a longer ride. Now my transit ride is 11 minutes. And when I lived in D.C., it was closer to half an hour. I could actually read a few pages in a book, or,
Right.
for a little while. But yeah, it is nice. It's just the idea of not having to focus on driving,
Yeah.
I like that. And sometimes even when I take an Uber or a Lyft, I like that too. It's like, wow, it's such a pleasure just to be able to take in the sights around us, What about you, Theo? What's your rides on transit? I know they take you lots of places.
I'm at the train station every morning, between 4:15 and 4:30 a.m. And I talk with the guards that open up. I got to know them, and then I have a series of friends that I see there. We catch the first train out, the 5:03, and sometimes if I bring snacks, and I bring
I'm
water.
sure they're glad to see you.
I bring it a lot. But if someone asks me for something to eat, because sometimes someone will be on the bench and they might ask, say,
Sure.
"Excuse me, you have something to eat?" So I usually I know the other day someone asked me where I got the Pringles. I got them at the Target but they were a new variety. But for the guards, I bring them Celsius or Red Bull sometimes because they need that in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I switched to Spanish because my friends there that I made, they speak Spanish, so I get to practice Spanish.
Oh, that's your new thing now. You're developing your Spanish skills a little more, huh? Wow. Yeah, I know you mentioned that when you that you would get out early, but I didn't realize, everybody was waiting for Theo to show up, right? That's great, Theo. That's great. Now, what would you say, at this point in time, warrants the most attention? I mean, you ride on a regular basis. What do you think are some of the most important things that need to be addressed with transit right now? Theo?
Would you like to go first?
Sure. I think expansion of the metro rail.
Okay, to where?
Just expanded in general, more south, I guess, and more northern than the rail. Or expanding it like east or west, maybe. That's one thing that I would like to see. I think it's important, and security as well. Security in the metro rail and the metro mover.
Have you experienced any? You haven't experienced any issues, have you?
No, but like I'm gonna give you an example of a concern that I had, and it was on the bus. So I get in the morning, the 6:30 bus, the 95, and there was a lady she must have been under the influence of some kind of substance. The bus driver was like polite, let her come in. I guess she was more safe in the bus than walking out.
Yes.
But she was all over the place. She was all over the place. I felt bad for her, and I wish there would have been somebody there to, like tend to her. I guess.
Right. Gotcha.
For her protection and and the riders as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the bus driver can't do it all.
Exactly.
I hear you. What about you, Theo? What things you think warrant the most attention at this time?
Respect. I took the train. I took the train to Tampa, and before I went, I contacted officials in that county called Hillsborough, and they gave me a pass to take the bus to test it, and I wanted to test it for accessibility, and when I was waiting for the bus downtown, when it came at me, it blinked, ride with respect, and so and I thought, that's beautiful.
It is.
Because they have it on the inside of the bus too.
Yes.
So it's a signal for everybody. You tuck in. I tuck in my shirt, put my hair. It's you want to ride with respect, and I asked District 13 Senator Rene Garcia to potentially implement the same program in Miami on the buses and the trains. Because I think just that little signal may help people.
I loved it. The picture you sent me, it just stood out. I mean, as a great slogan to have for any, public transit, because I think it starts there, that when people feel respected, by personnel, by other passengers, makes a difference.
It's one of the few cities, and I've lived about the U.S. where, for example, when a lady gets on the bus and you're sitting down, I was trained to give up my seat for the lady.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And I still will, and I still do, because that's what we do, and unfortunately, some folks haven't got that memo, so maybe it's time to deliver it.
I hear you. So, what do you like most about Miami-Dade Transit, Kathleen?
I like it, the accessibility and availability of it. I see an increase of more buses and the hours as well of availability. I'm glad I can get to work on time every morning. You know, in the 5 years that I worked as a teacher, I was late twice, and not because of transportation. You know, it's because of personal issues or whatever. But I was, and
So you've never been late because of transportation?
I never been late because of transportation.
Wow.
Now, what I like about the CITT program, right, going to the, is because of the rewards they give me. So let's say a bus is not, you know, something happened to the bus, I get to take a lift and still get to work on time.
Oh, yes.
So that's awesome.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it makes it easier for me.
What was the story you were going to tell us about your kids?
Yes, that story. Oh, yes.
Before
I get the rewards, you know, and I collect the rewards, obviously. And then it's funny because my children know that I get those rewards. So their text messages to me, they're, Mom, do you have any Lyft codes? Mom, do you have any Uber codes? So because they're all teenagers and they all need to get places, you know. So they're always asking me for the. And the other day we were comparing how much they spend compared to me, and they spend more than I do when it comes to the Lyft codes. But, you know, thanks to the CITT program, I'm able to do that for them as well.
And thanks that you are the ambassador of the month and the ambassador of the quarter, get those bonus points. So, yeah, that does make a difference.
Yes.
Well, if you just started watching, this is Mobility Matters presented by the CITT, Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, streaming directly from the Community News Network on the Miami Community Newspaper's social media platforms. You can follow the CITT on social media at GoCITT, Transportation Trust, and hashtag CITT Ambassador. Please remember to like us or subscribe when you visit our pages. I'm Cheryl Mizell, your host and the CITT Ambassador Program Coordinator. My guests today are Theo Karantsalis and Catheline Ahmed-Vargas, CITT Ambassadors of the first and second quarters 2025. Now, what you both attended the CITT Ambassador's second anniversary celebration, right?
That's correct.
Okay. What did you think about it?
I was actually taken aback when I showed up by the amount of community support it had. You know, there were like people from all over the county, different departments. I was just taken aback by that, how much support it had. So I like to see all these people there supporting a kind of program like this.
What about you, Theo? You were there. I got there and I was looking for you, and it was only after the crowds had parted that I actually found you. There were so many people there that morning, and then finally somebody said, "Yeah, Theo's over there." I was like, "Where?" The sea parted, and I could see him. This was when the mayor spoke at the celebration at Casa Cuba.
I remember.
Yes.
It was, I have to say, the Miller brothers, Grant and Michael, did such a wonderful job with that.
Did. They really did.
And it was nice. It was nice to see. It was nice to see a lot of old friends. I believe Juan Mendieta was there from the college.
Yeah.
Old dear friend, just nice people. That I've always liked. It was a lot. There was a lot of people, and you made me feel at home. So thank you.
And thank you for doing those interviews for us too. Catheline, you were there. I think you got away before we were able to get you in front of a camera.
Right.
Yeah. But we had got quite a few interviews done that day with our ambassadors, and they were all shining brightly. So thank you. And we're looking forward to celebrating our anniversary again this year, next year rather. It'll be our third anniversary. How about that? What about the ambassador check-in? I know you were at the check-in, and we did a focus group. Were you on the?
I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Group,
I wasn't sure. So let's talk about that. What did you think about that experience with the ambassadors?
Well, it was kind of nice, you know, because you get to see the other ambassadors. You feel special because you're part of that group. You know, you all doing the same common good for like the rest of the riders. So it's pretty nice to be part of that.
Theo?
I liked it because we were able to make suggestions, and I believe I relayed a message to the people that make the app. I think they're called the Velocia.
Correct.
And to work on making it a little more accessible for people with vision impairments. You know, the size of the phone screen is really small, and for a lot of people, but as you get older, it gets really small. And so
small for me too sometimes.
so there's some. So I asked them to consider some changes, but yes, I like that we were able to give input and I believe it was received on the other end.
Oh yeah. So we have to follow up. Let's you and I, follow up on that to make sure that that gets done. What have you all witnessed any changes, additions, or improvements or I guess I'm actually asking, are there any changes, additions, or improvements that you would like to recommend for the program?
For the program?
For the ambassador program?
Yeah, I'm happy the way it is right now.
Okay.
It really, really is.
Well,
But the accessibility, the app, it is user-friendly, is very direct, yeah.
Can I look at my note?
Of course.
I wrote that if it's possible on the surveys to add a mobility device question, maybe ask if the person uses a wheelchair or a walker or a cane. That and then as for the rewards, because it said, would you have any suggestions for new rewards? And I wrote, maybe potentially consider giving a credit for Metro PCS. Since we use our phone, it's just a thought.
Okay.
And
partner with the phone company. Got it.
Maybe. And what was you're asking me about potential improvements? Consider a ban on e-scooters and electrical scooters that block the aisles and the disabled spaces. They not only pose a fire risk, but they make it very difficult for people with mobility issues to get on the train and the bus.
So some of them they take up a lot of space. Is that what you're saying?
Some of them are big. There's one the other day that blocked the whole aisle, and so it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem, and since there's so many of them now, we're seeing more. Many years ago, when I took the train, I think you would have to go to a section. Now everybody just gets on.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, as far as people with disabilities, who need the wheel devices, as you mentioned, canes. I mean, we certainly want to encourage them to apply, to become CITT ambassadors so that we can get more input, from them, because they certainly rely on public transit probably more, than others do. So we definitely would like to encourage them. We certainly appreciate your voice out there, for sure, and those suggestions. Let's see. Are either of you familiar with the Miami-Dade Transit Watch app? It's inside the Miami-Dade Go app, and it's where people can report, like non-emergency issues. But it's right inside the app. It's like if you go inside, it's like on the home page. You scroll all the way down to the bottom.
I'm gonna have to look more into it.
Yeah, if you have the Miami-Dade Go app and you want, something's going on around you that you think needs to be reported, it's a way that you can do it. And I believe that's monitored 24 hours.
Okay,
so
that's good to know.
Yes. And the other app that, are you familiar with the 311 Direct app? Okay, that one's good because for reporting issues with the roads and signs, things like that. Yes, Theo.
I've used the transit app a lot, and I've never had a response. And the last time I used it was coming from Alapata to Arlington on the train, and we had a gentleman. He needed a little bit of assistance, and he got physical with the lady, and an airplane pilot was there knocking on the window to the driver saying, "We need authorities." So I told him, "Oh, it's okay, I think, because I did the app."
Sure.
And I thought, and then we went to the next station and the next station, and there was nobody. And so the driver finally had to call. So my experience with it is, they may need to make it so it works.
Sure.
And I've also pressed the red button into usually I only do that if there's a fight or something serious.
Mm-hmm.
And but the last time I pressed the red button, someone said, what's your problem? And I was trying to explain, and then they hung up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for the emergency button, maybe internally, if somebody's going to press that button, maybe it should be an immediate response, maybe like 911-ish, because no one's going to press it unless there's something very serious going on.
Did you call 911 after that? Was it a 911 or was it
for that incident? The pilot banged on.
That's the same incident.
And then
okay.
that one. No, the fight, which was also at Arlington. I think when we got to Hialeah, the driver called it in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but things do happen.
They do,
because it's a big city. So then,
and then you have to kind of make a judgment between what's like emergency, what's urgent, and what's an issue that needs to be reported. I think there's kind of like maybe 3 levels. That's how I usually look at it. If it's an emergency, forget all those apps. Just go straight to 911. But if it's if it's something that's that can be reported, and there can be some delay. I mean, it's not like someone has to be right there to take care of it. You can use that. But the good thing about that Transit Watch app, I wanted to put, because you can also, I think you can upload pictures and follow up. But I think you can follow up. You can request a follow up if you don't get one too.
I did. I met with security and transit officials downtown after, and we discussed it. And they told me that they're sorry that they never received anything on their end.
Gotcha.
So that tells me maybe whoever made the app needs to work on it.
And that was in the Go Miami-Dade app, because it
Yes.
used to be a separate app too. I have the Transit Watch app that's separate. That's separate from the Go Miami-Dade. Which one did you use?
For that I used Transit Watch.
Okay.
The Transit Watch.
The separate app.
Yes, that's the one where they put on the sign if there's an issue.
Right. But the same one is inside of the Go Miami-Dade app. It's in there now, so it might be. Maybe, it's something is happening. They're trying to shift everybody, because I tried to look for it online and it's not online anymore. So I think they're probably shifting to get people to use it inside of that.
Okay.
All right. Well, any other feedback for potential CITT ambassadors who may be watching or listening that they might be encouraged to hear or want to participate?
I want to encourage you to join. It is a great program, and you're actually helping with the service, being the voice for other writers.
Great. What about you?
I'm sorry.
Any feedback for other ambassadors who may be listening and might be interested in joining? Might want to encourage them, especially, those who. I mean, you get around with a walker, and you're everywhere, Theo. You are everywhere. Maybe there are other people who are sitting at home and think that they have to stay at home because, they can't drive. Their license has been revoked. And here you are, a shining example of like the world is, my playground.
I believe it was Rabbi Manis Friedman from New York who said, the meaning of life is making a difference in the lives of others. Mm-hmm. And when I combine that with what I mentioned earlier, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, everybody can be great because anybody can serve.
I love that one.
That's carved into the train station. So I would like anybody listening to this to absorb those words, and regardless of your position on life's strata, you can make a difference, and the world is counting on you to do so.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Kathleen. You've both been wonderful, shining examples of our ambassadors of the month, the quarter, and who knows, one of you might be the ambassador of the year this year. Only time will tell. Well, viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us today. If you missed any part of the show, you can watch from the beginning. Just check back to our social media pages to get the links to the full video. Special thanks to our guests, Theo Karantsalis and Catheline Ahmed-Vargas, CITT ambassadors of the first and second quarters 2025. And to our production team, we have Joey Garcia, who's on social media over there, as well as we have Rachel, and we have a new guy. He's going to have to shout out his name so I can hear it. What is it? Zoni. All right. The new guy at the controls. Thank you so much for your help today. Remember to visit the CITT website to learn more about becoming a CITT Trust member or a CITT ambassador. I'm Cheryl Mizell, your host and CITT Ambassador Program Coordinator. Please join us again in 2 weeks when Javier Betancourt returns as your host of Mobility Matters. Until then, please keep moving forward.